Today, we're talking about what to expect for this week's Democratic National Convention, Vice President Harris's first major policy proposal, developments from Russia and Gaza, and other top news for Monday, August 19th. Stay informed while remaining focused on Christ with the pour-over today. Here's the quote of the day. Evil labors with vast power and perpetual success in vain, preparing always only the soil for unexpected good to sprout in. J.R.R. Tolkien. Let's get started with some espresso shots. The Democratic National Convention kicks off today in Chicago. Party organizers have been updating the programming and swapping out the Biden-Harris signage for Harris walls. Following a summer of division amongst Democrats over then-candidate Biden, the party plans to focus on unifying behind Harris with a convention theme of For the People, For Our Future. President Biden is speaking tonight, former President Obama tomorrow, former President Clinton and Vice President nominee Walz on Wednesday, and Vice President Harris will close out the week on Thursday. Events will be streamed on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok in an effort to reach younger voters. Meanwhile, Chicago police are expecting tens of thousands of protesters outside the convention bearing signs about abortion rights, economic injustice, and, primarily, the war in Gaza. Protest organizers want the U.S. to cut off aid to Israel. The names on the ballot this election may feel monumental, but in the scope of eternity, they're but a speck of dust. Viewing our lives in light of eternity doesn't mean we don't care about present issues, but it reminds us to keep our focus on Christ and live as citizens of His kingdom. 2 Peter 3:10-12 says, "But the day of the Lord will come like a thief. On that day the heavens will pass away with a loud noise. The elements will burn and be dissolved, and the earth and the works on it will be disclosed. Since all these things are to be dissolved in this way, it is clear what sort of people you should be in holy conduct and godliness as you wait for the day of God and hasten its coming." On Friday, Vice President Harris unveiled her economic plan. It's her first major policy proposal and includes millions of new starter homes, $25,000 down payment assistance for some first-time homebuyers, raising child tax credits, $3,600 per child per year, $6,000 for newborns, and, most controversially, a ban on price gouging for food producers and grocers. An editorial in the typical Harris-friendly Washington Post said it's hard to exaggerate how bad the anti-price gouging policy is, while former President Trump compared the plan to Soviet-style price controls. Trump also took some heat Friday after saying receiving the Presidential Medal of Freedom, highest civilian award, is much better than receiving the Medal of Honor, highest military award, because soldiers who get it are in bad shape or dead. Trump's campaign said the comments were misconstrued. Politicians come and go, often disappointing supporters and opponents alike. Put your hope in the Lord, who has no term limit, who rules with compassion, and who executes justice perfectly. Psalm 9:7-10 says, "But the Lord sits enthroned forever. He has established His throne for judgment, and He judges the world with righteousness. He executes judgment on the nations with fairness. The Lord is a refuge for the persecuted, a refuge in times of trouble. Those who know your name trust in you, because you have not abandoned those who seek you, Lord." Ukraine's burning bridges with Russia, but there's hope for bridges between Israel and Gaza. Over the weekend, President Zelensky's forces downed two key Kursk region bridges to disrupt Russian supply lines, pressed further into Putin's territory, and reportedly captured 100-plus Russian soldiers to replenish its exchange fund. Still, Russia's forces are making their own progress in Ukraine's east. They're marching steadily toward Pokrovsk, a key logistics hub for Ukraine. Ukraine's surprise offense apparently derailed secret talks between the nations to stop targeting energy and power infrastructure, a limited ceasefire that negotiators hoped would lead to a comprehensive one. Meanwhile, mediators in Qatar are still working on a last-ditch bridge proposal to bring Israel and Hamas nearer to a ceasefire and hostage release deal. Friday, President Biden said negotiations were far from over, but much, much closer. Here's a verse to consider whether you're negotiating from a position of strength or weakness. Now I know that the Lord gives victory to his anointed. He will answer him from his holy heaven with mighty victories from his right hand. Some take pride in chariots and others in horses, but we take pride in the name of the Lord our God. They collapse and fall, but we rise and stand firm. Psalm 20, 6-8. Sometimes it feels like money doesn't stretch very far these days. But when you sponsor a child through Compassion International, just $43 per month is crazy powerful. Sponsorship means education, clean water, healthy food, medical care, and most importantly, hope. Through local churches in the area, sponsored children build relationships with Jesus-loving adults who can offer the specific support kids need to thrive. Not sure where to start? Go to compassion.com/TPO or find the link in the show notes and search by birthday to see if there's a child with your birthday that needs a sponsor. In other brews, here's a rapid round of updates. Hackers might have stolen the social security numbers of every American. According to a recent class action lawsuit, National Public Data, which aggregates data for background checks, was breached in April, putting 2.9 billion records, names, social security numbers, birthdays, and emails into hackers' hands. The company confirmed the breach and authorities are investigating. Medicare has negotiated down the price of 10 common medications, including diabetes drugs and blood thinners. The Biden administration says the price reductions, which range from 38% to 79%, will save taxpayers $6 billion and Medicare recipients $1.5 billion. The new prices kick in on January 1st, 2026. Price negotiations on another 15 drugs are set to begin next year. Yay, David! Eugene Levy and son Dan will become the first father-son duo to ever host the Emmys. The Canadian co-creators of Schitt's Creek, which pulled off a historic sweep of the comedy category in the 2020 Emmys, will MC ABC's September 15th broadcast. Eugene himself is up for an Emmy for the Apple TV Plus series The Reluctant Traveler. People in India are protesting after a young female doctor trainee was raped and murdered at a Kolkata medical college last week. Hospitals have turned away non-emergency patients as 1+ million doctors were expected to join a 24-hour strike demanding increased security and safe spaces for women at hospitals. Protests begin August 9th, intensifying as more incidents of assault made headlines. NBC announced a daily average of 30.6 million Americans watched the Olympics, way up from the 2021 Tokyo Games, 16.9 million. NBC saw a surge in viewership on its streaming platform Peacock and increased interest in women's sports, even without Caitlin Clark. 35 million Americans watched Simone Biles, Katie Ledecky, and Sha'Carri Richardson win medals. And that's all we have for today. Thanks so much for listening. If you're listening on the Apple Podcast app, give us a 5-star rating and drop a review. If you're listening on Spotify, give us a follow and hit the notification bell to never miss a new episode. We appreciate your support and hope you have a great day. We'll see you on Wednesday.
Hi, it's Kathleen from The Pour Over. Before we go today, I wanted to give you a book recommendation. Since some people have described The Pour Over as news for people who hate the news, even if the some people was me, we're recommending the fitting Politics for People Who Hate Politics by Denise Grace Gitchum to prepare ourselves as we aim to engage in politics in Christ's way, with countercultural love, integrity, and unity. Pick up your copy of Politics for People Who Hate Politics today with the link in our show notes.